At this time, ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Aaron Wagenheim.
Thank you. All right, welcome everyone. This is my capstone on building a creative media agency. You can go to the next slide.
Yeah, and I shall.
All right, so this all started freshman year, even beforehand. Freshman year, basically, I just remember seeing a YouTube video on like how to make an online business. And it was kind of like one of those like cringe videos, but I was like, this is really sick. Like, previously I've always been like kind of business oriented, like the way I think. And I saw this video and I was like, I want to do this. So this was in the fall. I kind of just started watching more videos, learning more, buying some books, reading, and just connecting with different people. And eventually, in the summer between freshman and sophomore year, I started my first e-commerce store where I was selling like a product online that I sourced from a wholesale supplier. And that store didn't do amazing, but I definitely learned a lot. And I ended up running a couple other stores um, over the course of freshman and sophomore year, which again, like I didn't make $1 million, but like I learned a ton and really built like a good foundation of skills. So that photos of me at a networking event, like right after I turned 16, I went down to New York and like I was the youngest person there. It was really cool. Like I met a lot of like really successful like young business people and built a lot of connections. And I think that's something that over the course of this presentation, you'll see like I love like connections and like networking is something that's really important to me. So yeah, you can go on the next slide.
Okay. Oh, sorry. There we go.
So yeah, so basically I was doing this e-commerce work and I had some good connections, but I kind of was stuck with like, this work didn't really have a purpose. I was just selling these products. A lot of them were just like these toys or pretty gimmicky products like that I would get from China. And I kind of wanted to do something more personal and more that I could get creative with. And at the same time that I was thinking about this, I started to shoot some sporting events at the high school. And I was, I had learned some photo skills and I was not like a great photographer, but I was really, really enjoying it. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, so this was like the fall of 2019. And I was like, okay, this is really cool. And at that time, I was also working on a social media marketing agency with a partner that we were working for car dealerships, doing like social media ads and lead generation for them. And I kind of thought, I was like, this is like a pretty cool work. I'm getting good experience. We're making a little bit of money, but like it would be really cool to incorporate this creative work that I'm starting to do with this industry that obviously needs it a lot. And so it was about November of 2019 where I talked to my partner and I was like, yo, like we should totally like kind of make a switch to more of like a creative approach instead of running ads for these people, making creatives and then running the ads. And he was totally down. So basically from like December of 2019 to March of 2020, we were building that. And then obviously COVID shut that whole industry down. Car dealerships lost a ton of money. So we kind of had to put that on pause. But that's one. Next slide. Quarantine was definitely a huge time for me. Basically I started just going to these like football and basketball like events around like New England, mostly like Connecticut and Mass. And like I kind of was like, I've always loved sports. So like I was just kind of grow my skills in like sports and they were happening. So I just kept going to them. And like I definitely saw a lot of improvement in my work, but I also like was able to network like even in a time where everyone was like inside and all that. Like I still found myself like building really good connections, especially with like pretty pretty high level athletes like around this area and some business owners in the sports industry. So like I was really able to like find my niche in something that, you know, the work was really enjoyable for me, the creative work, but it was also in a niche like sports that I was really passionate about. So I did a lot of free work during this time, but like that stuff is so worth it because now I have this huge portfolio of work that I can now charge a lot of money for. So yeah, with every project that I did, I just saw like tremendous improvement, really good feedback from everybody like that would see my stuff. And yeah, the next slide. So it basically came down to I knew I was going to do a capstone around this line, around the lines of this. So like, I wasn't sure if I wanted to kind of continue doing freelance or if I wanted to make an agency around it. And I ended up deciding the agency route. And once I decided that, it was kind of like bringing the idea to life. So some things that were really tricky for me were the name and like kind of the identity of the brand. That honestly took me a long time to figure out. Just because I knew like it's really important. Like that's the first thing that people see. So I ended up coming up with Prodigy Media Group because I figured like for me that kind of resembles like my business journey. Like I've always been like the youngest person in the room. Like I've always kind of been more ambitious to um, just like I've always just felt like my age is kind of an advantage, even though some people view it as a weakness. So yeah, Prodigy Media Group with the help of Mr. Eldridge.
Marvelous.
And yeah, so after that, I started working on the website and kind of dialing down what the services were. You go to the next slide. So yeah, with that, I was pretty challenged in the services because like I mentioned, I was doing work for car dealerships and I was also doing work for e-commerce stores in creative work. Um, and originally I was like, oh, I'm gonna do an agency where I serve like all these different types of businesses. I'm gonna do commercial work for car dealerships because I had already done like some TV commercials. So I had that work to show. I'm gonna do some e-commerce work because I can make a ton of money doing that. Like, and even though it's not the most fun, I can just make a lot of money doing it. And then I'll do the sports stuff as well. And that was kind of like the idea, but then I realized like it's kind of a lot to handle, especially as just me. If I had a whole team working on it, I could do different divisions. But I really like uh it was just like the services were too unclear when I was building out the website and all that, that I really just decided, sports are like my favorite thing of all these. And I think I can make it work to make, the amount of money to make it worth it, but also just to like get the experience that I want. So go to the next slide. Yeah, so I decided on this sports specific angle. That's my logo. Subject to change. It's something pretty simple, but we'll see. But yeah, it was just basically because it was my favorite work to do. I already had this big portfolio of sports work, as well as connections. I've built a lot of connections through this past year, which has been really helpful. And then also, like when I was thinking about e-commerce or car dealerships, there's a lot of production companies or agencies that work in these niches. And so like I was like, well, it would be tough. Like I could definitely undercut the competition, but it's always tough to sell in that big pool. And so there's less competition in here. Obviously that comes with a smaller market, but I think I can still do pretty well. So, okay. Yeah, what's next? Basically, what I have now is I have a website built out. I have kind of my brand identity, my services. I have this big network. And what's next is basically just going to be over the summer building a stream of clients through connections that I already have. I already have a lot of people that I've done work for in the past that want to do more consistent work in the future, which is exactly what I'm trying to do. I have some connections that I've never worked for yet, but want me to do work for them. So I'm excited about that. And then I'm also going to reach out on kind of just branch out and, get more connections and get more work on LinkedIn and just continue posting on Instagram, which has been really helpful for me. So yeah, networking really is going to be a big thing this summer.
Is there more?
Oh, that might be it.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, that's basically the whole gist of it, I think. And the
Showed you the video?
I have a video basically to show kind of a shortened version of what I've talked about, the story of it, and kind of just a hype up to launch.
Hang on, so I'm gonna do this. And we're gonna, hold on, we have to stop we're gonna stop and restart this share. Hang on a second so we can share the video. Okay, and we're gonna do share screen, share sound. Okay, and I'm gonna unplug the headset here so the people in the room can hear the sound. Here goes. Cross your breath, hold your fingers. All right. There should be sound. Yeah, hang on a sec. I think I know what to do. That was the problem. One, and so this goes. There we go. Here we go.
About a year ago, after a few months of being stuck inside my house with nothing to do, I decided to take my camera and drive down to Connecticut to take photos at a football tournament. I had never branched out like this before. I didn't know any of the football players at the event, and I had only sent a DM to the guy running it to ask if I could come by and shoot. Luckily, he said yes. And little did I know that it was because of that I would spend all summer last year traveling around, shooting games, workouts, and photo shoots with athletes. See, I hadn't just been shooting photos and videos. For the past 3 years, I had been building experience in digital marketing and all sorts of online business, but I really wanted to take it a step further. So I knew the best thing to do would be to combine the two. So that's exactly what I did. Welcome to Prodigy Media Group, a company redesigned to help the modern day athlete or brand in all things creative.
Wow. Cool.
That's it. Questions? Anything?
Yeah. So, Aaron, thank you so much, guys. Again, if you're online and have questions, you can type them into the chat. I have some questions. I'm fascinated. So you decided, Aaron, to focus on sports. And so I understand that you're finding a lot of clientele in sports. Specifically, who do your clients tend to be?
Yeah, so clients currently can be anything from, athletes at a collegiate professional level or even a high school level.
Oh, hang on 1 second. We're gonna do a, I have to do a sound thing here. Unmuted there. Unmuted here. And go ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna put this thing back in. Okay, so actually the audience probably didn't hear the first question, so I'll ask it again. So you decided to focus in on sports. So my question is, who do your clients tend to be? And also the follow-up is, what kinds of products are you creating for them?
yeah. So currently and kind of in the future, it's more just like scaling. Like I'm kind of liking what I'm doing right now, but it's more just like working with bigger and bigger athletes or brands. But right now it's, clients at the collegiate or professional level and high school level. The lower down it gets, the less monetized it is on like the, business to business level from the client to me. But I can get creative with having sponsors and stuff like that, because obviously like a high school kid is not going to be able to pay me as much for services as a professional athlete. But besides working with athletes specifically, I've also found some luck in working with brands. And this is where I kind of think, I was initially looking to work with like commercial brands and e-commerce brands when I could just work with, the companies in the sports niche. So like kind of combining the two is what I found. Like, and I've already made a lot of connections with brands. I've done work for them. I have a bunch of things lined up this summer that I think will be pretty good.
Cool. So in other words, a lot of your clients are individual athletes as opposed to like teams or coaches.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
teams as well, but I kind of like working with individuals more because I can do more of like a specific. If I'm working for a team, then it's kind of like I don't get, it's not as like specific, like it's more just like a broad project, and like
Yeah.
I can't get, it's if one person wants something and one person wants another thing, then it's kind of like it leaves me like in the middle, and I kind of have to compromise. So like
Right.
if I'm working with for one person, we can sit down and figure out exactly what they want to do, and I can make it happen.
I so relate to that. I coach actors, right? And I also direct productions. And yeah, trying to direct 20 people on stage, very different experience than sitting intensely and working with one actor
Yeah.
on what they want. So a lot of what you're doing are creating reels for athletes, right?
Yeah,
And I can
it
see
can-
we're at the college level, when we're talking about monetization, these guys are getting ready to turn pro.
Definitely.
So that's got to
it's-
be a hell of a market.
So the idea is like creating, you know, especially at the lower levels, it's like the highlights is what everybody wants. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it just looks really cool. It's flashy, but it also helps with recruiting, or it helps with, you know, building their brand. People like to see that, like from a consumer standpoint, almost like the social media, like consumers. And so, even at a high school level, that really helps. But then as we get, you know, to like higher levels, even in college sports now, like players are able to start monetizing, which has been a huge like dispute over the past couple of years.
As in amateur status versus pro status.
Yeah, and that's going to be huge because I'll be able to work with some more college athletes that, you know, have a brand deal that that they need help in. And like, I've even thought about, you know, partnering with a agency that, you know, represents athletes, professional athletes. And then when they have brand deals that they bring to their athletes, I do like the creative stuff for that.
Yeah.
And I've
Yeah.
talked to some people who run these or work at them, and they've all said like that's something that they're definitely really interested in. So we'll see like over this summer and next year if that's something that I can do.
Yeah, it seems to me that that your timing is great. I mean, some of this is luck that you're at the age you are at the time you were, but because media has been developing so rapidly in the last 10 years, and then of course because of the quarantine, we've had this intense development of it in the last year and a half. And what we're really talking about is the fact that athletes can do more to package themselves now because the technology is available at this level to do it.
Totally.
So you're in a position to take advantage of what the technology is making available. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, there's been
Yeah.
athletes like in like the NFL or NBA that maybe they're not even the top, like one of the best athletes, but they've done such good work on social media
Mhm.
that regardless of like their contract on their professional sports team, they're still able to, you know, have that brand, that personal brand, and an income from it because
Yeah.
of their social media work. Or on the other side, there's top athletes in the NFL or NBA that do such a good job on social media that it increases their not performance, but maybe like their bonuses and, you know, jersey sales and
Yeah.
everything like that just increases their brand.
It's funny you mentioned that. There's a name that particularly comes to mind for me, a little guy named Julian Edelman, who I think did a brilliant job of using social media to
Yeah.
develop his image. This is one of the cool things about doing the capstones. You know, we just had Katie Lair yesterday talking about creating merchandise and developing the image of Phoebe Bridgers.
Mm.
And, you know, just remembering that you guys are the generation, it's the teens who always take advantage of the latest technologies. So if there is any group of people in the world who can take advantage of social media, it's your generation. And it's so much fun watching you guys figure that out and figure out how to use it.
Yeah.
This is very exciting. I can't wait I'm going to be, of course, and I really, by the way, I really like your brand. That Prodigy, the image is really cool. So I'm going to really be looking forward to seeing Prodigy stamped over all kinds of things in the
Yeah.
upcoming years.
Like t-shirts,
Yeah.
hats, whatever.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Aaron
you.
Wagenheim. All right, audience, we'll take a very brief break while we set up for Gus Lellman and his amazing chair.